Okay, scheme of work and lesson plans. Structure of a lesson or session. The aim of this is to learn how to write realistic aims, learning outcomes, discuss how to structure, plan and produce a scheme of work and a session plan. Learning outcomes. Upon completion of the session, learners will be able to state the difference between the aim, which is a statement of intent, and learning outcomes. You need to structure, plan and produce a learning program or scheme of work as part of the assessment process, including aim and learning outcomes, activities and resources, and assessment. And also structure and produce session plans including learning outcomes, resources, teacher and learner activities, and the method of assessment. So aim and learning outcome. The aim is a general statement outlining the expected outcome. And the learning outcomes, upon completion of the session, learners will be able to. That's a key phrase you always want to put in front of your learning outcomes. And then the learning outcomes will come underneath. Understand and incorporate SMART into their teaching. What is SMART? SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and time-bound. Always remember to use SMART learning outcomes. Always have a short, simple outcome relating to the topic. Avoid listing learning objectives as multiple lists. Resist using the words and or understand as an objective. Use action words, or what I call doing words, in a composition which are measurable, such as distinguish, demonstrate, assess, apply, state, explain, list, outline, use, number, identify, and the list can go on. Use an example of an aim and some learning outcomes from one of my slides. So the aim, which is a general purpose of intent, to understand the importance of personal hygiene. And learning outcomes, and remember the phrase after the learning outcomes which just precedes the actual learning outcomes. By the end of this unit, or session, or lecture, trainees, delegates, will be able to, so always remember that phrase, always use that phrase, and here are the SMART objectives. Detail the need for and suitable methods of hand washing. Detail is a SMART word. Demonstrate suitable hand washing techniques. Describe the risks if hands are not correctly washed and the action to take if there are cuts or abrasions on the skin. A bit of a repeat from the last one. Try not to repeat your learning outcomes, or rather the SMART words in the learning outcomes. But I've used the same word there. Describe the importance, properties, use and care of protective clothing and equipment. State the risks associated with exposure to infectious diseases. So the SMART words are detail, demonstrate, describe and state. And if you're putting together your own PowerPoint presentation, one little point that might help you. I know this is the end of a slide, so I know the next time I click on the PowerPoint, the slides are going to turn over. And that's because I put a full stop at the end of the last sentence. This tells me this is the last sentence on this particular slide. So don't put any full stops at front and the end of the other words, just at the last slide. The structure of learning program scheme of work. It must fulfill the needs and expectations of the individual learner, teacher, course provider and awarding bodies. Planning and production. The planning and production of a learning program should be based on aims and learning outcomes, learning styles, facilities and resources available, assessment and review procedure, and teacher and learner activities. Scheme of work. This is paramount since education establishments are accountable for what they teach, and awarding bodies check the scheme of work by means of internal verifiers, IV, and external verifiers, EV. Question. What are awarding bodies by means of external verifiers checking for, do you think? Well, it's that your facility is planned to cover the programme of study for the given subject. It's to ensure work is planned at appropriate level for the learners, and to ensure you're using an up-to-date scheme of work. They are mandatory for the WBL and national curriculum. Structure of a session plan. A lesson plan should be structured. No, I've used lesson plan, session plan, they're the same thing. You can use whichever word you want. A lesson plan should be structured in a logical sequence that provides the teacher with a complete map of the session. Planning and production. The planning and production of a lesson plan should be based on aim, timings, learning outcomes, resources, teacher-learner activities, and methods of assessment. And again, look at the full stop. That tells me a new slide is due when I click on the mouse. So to summarise, we've discussed the importance of understanding how to write aims and objectives that are SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Also the reasoning behind the production of clear and concise schemes of work and session plans. So, revision. Question: what does IV stand for? Is it internal verifier, intrinsic verifier, international verifier, or ideal verifier? And it's A, internal verifier. What should learning outcomes be? Should they be START, SMART, SPART, or SPARP? And the answer is B, SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound.